Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of OnPoint Live, Week 16. I'm Vince Ferragamo, former Los Angeles Rams quarterback, and alongside me is my good buddy and 20-year legend Ram Hall of Famer, Jackie Slater. And Jackie, here we are, Monday Night Football. Raiders, this is the Chargers and the Colts.
Yes, and they're getting after it. They're getting after it. And we're sitting here watching some really good football. Two pretty good coaches, actually. Especially the coordinators there for the coach. Before we get started, Vince, I have to say, we have been treated royally as we have done this podcast. And I want all of you guys who are watching us to consider subscribing. And that way, we're on live tonight. You'll be able to catch us on replay tomorrow, but you'll get a notification if you sign up on your phone, on your devices, that we're on live and you can, catch, bits and pieces of it. So
that's great, Jackie.
I wanted to share that.
And so far in this game, Jack, in the first quarter, it's 0-0, but the Chargers have 2 interceptions. Nick Foles is replacing Matt Ryan at quarterback for the Colts, but their offense has got to get going. They got to start percolating at some point in time.
Nick Foles has thrown his share of interceptions so far early part of this game, and this is the one thing we might want to keep a real good eye on, Vince, because as you know, turnovers tell the story of who's going to win a ball game. In fact, if you turn the football over twice, you have an 80% chance of losing the ball game. Now, we just got to balance it out. If they're going to turn over 3 times, they turn over 3 times. Just depends on the field position and how devastating those particular turnovers would be. So we'll just watch it as it goes along.
And, Jackie, this weekend was Christmas weekend. A lot of great games this weekend. Any games in particular that stood out in your mind? There was some great teams, some upsets, too, that we didn't expect.
Well, I think I can't talk about a game that happened this past week without talking about our old team.
I figured.
It was just absolute. It was like one of those fairy tale kind of things to watch.
Yeah.
And to see Baker Mayfield, it was, as you know, they fired the head coach over at Denver. And if I'm the owner of a football team and I see the job that Sean McVay did with Baker Mayfield over that short period of time and put 51 points on my defense. Now, this is the thing you have to know about that defense, Vince, that Baker Mayfield was playing against.
Right.
That defense was number 4th in the National Football League and the fewest points allowed in the red zone. What did the Rams do? The Rams had 9 possessions. They scored on 8 of them, and on the 9th possession, they took a knee to kill the clock at the end of the game. They never stopped them. And
they weren't denied. They weren't denied, Jackie. The Rams actually put a great game plan together to score 51 points.
Unbelievable.
And I have to tell you, though, Russell Wilson was a little disappointing. And, they did they fired the coach, Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes, they did.
But what was surprising about what the Rams did in that game is they rushed the ball more than they threw the ball.
Absolutely.
They rushed the ball 36 times and threw the ball 28. And Baker Mayfield, probably one of the best games I've seen a quarterback throw in a long time, was 86% completion percentage.
It's unbelievable.
Was 24 out of 28 passes.
24 of 28. And Vince, as far as the Rams passing records are concerned, that is the number 1 efficiency day of a quarterback in the history of the organization. He beat the 2000 mark by Kurt Warner.
I was going to say Kurt Warner probably.
He beat that mark. That was the number 1 percentage mark, and he beat that and only been on the team 3 weeks. So it just speaks volume for the job that Sean McVay did. And if I'm the owner of the Denver Broncos and I'm sitting there watching that game, I'm thinking to myself, I want a coach that can take a guy who has ability and get him to be as productive as Sean McVay has gotten Baker Mayfield playing. It's just one of those things where your inability to coach with the guy got you fired.
Well, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Jackie, is if you're the Denver Broncos and you beat, how bad do you have to beat to lose to the Rams 51-14? In a game like that,
it had to have a serious state of affairs going, a serious state of negative affairs going on over in Denver, because, as I said, their defense had been playing well, and they were, But when you mention Russell Wilson, you look at the contract, you look at all the picks they gave up.
Yeah.
This year, that pick is probably going to be one of the top 5 picks in the draft. You look at all of that and your expectations a lot higher than what we actually saw. Now, why the failure? I have no idea. All I know is I look at Russell Wilson as a Hall of Fame guy. He's gone to 9 Pro Bowls. He's been in the thick of 1 Super Bowls. And, I just can't. It's just hard for me to imagine why his performance has gone so far south.
We'll get into it a little bit later, Jackie. We'll try to evaluate that. I'll give you my opinion on it a little bit later in the show. But, some of these other games too, Jackie, were just so mind-boggling. Like I look at the Lions, they were playing the Panthers.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I think we both of us picked Detroit to win this game because they were on a roll.
On a roll. How many games have they won?
They won 6 out of 7 games, Jackie. And they were starting, and they were in a position to make the playoffs, Jackie. Then they played the Panthers, Jackie. How many yards did they give up on the ground?
320 yards rushing. They had 2 guys that rushed for over 100 yards, Vince. And the thing that got me is, you hear Dan Campbell talking all the time about being physical and we're going to be the type of team that kick them in the leg and bite them in the knee. That implies physicality. That implies toughness at the line of scrimmage on both sides. And I'm telling you, they were cut through like a hot knife through butter. It was just unbelievable to see. And think about it. The quarterback had a great day. Jared Goff had a fantastic day. His numbers.
Well, he was 355 yards passing, Jackie. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had like 110 quarterback rating, which is very good for a quarterback. But
that's winning numbers.
But Dan Campbell was in the locker room at halftime urging these guys, what did you guys come here to do? Just to lay down? Are you going to play this game? Get out and play. Come on. I mean, he's a former player himself,
yes,
Jackie. He was kind of
he was a tight end.
He was a very emotional type of player, but he's trying to, the coach has a lot to do with how the team takes their, the whole attitude and how they approach the game, how they play. They follow the coach's philosophy, but in that instance, they just got rolled over.
That's one of the things that I have learned as I have watched this game is that, pain will make cowards of us all.
You got to play through it though. Sometimes,
if you are getting repeatedly hit in the lips, repeatedly getting hit in the lips, you're going to do one or 2 things. Yeah. You're going to stop the guy from hitting you in the lip, or you're going to cower him back down and get to the sideline.
Yeah, right.
It's just one or the
go
other.
Home. Well, they went home. They went home with their head between their legs.
There's no doubt about it. Just a physical beating all the way around.
But the Chiefs win again in a big win. The Bucks actually came from behind to beat the Cardinals, and then Tom Brady. It just seems like he continues to win in a 2-minute drill. That's the only thing they do good, and I just don't know how it happens.
You tell me, but I did not sense that there was a lot of communication in the critical parts of this game when Tampa won this game.
Yeah,
I didn't sense that there was a whole lot of communication going on between Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady. I felt that
there was a lot of communication on the sideline, Jack.
But Tom Brady was in charge of the whole situation.
Yeah.
He called the plays himself, it seemed to me.
Well, especially in a 2-minute drill, Jackie, that's when they've been at their best, is when he's actually just calling the plays, verbatim, and he just throws, the coaching. There's no coaching interaction at that point because you can't really shuffle the plays in and out. And they've had most success. That maybe that's the way they should approach the entire game. They should do a 2-minute drill the entire game.
It's just hard for me, Vince. You know more about the communication that a quarterback has with a play call on the sidelines and all the communication that's going on right now. And you can imagine what it was, even though nobody told you the plays like that when you were playing. But you can imagine the advantage that would be. What I just don't understand is how you could expect any quarterback to master all of the situations that we see come up in a 2-minute drill without that communication. And if you are able to handle those situations, it seems like to me you should be considered one of those masters at your position playing quarterback.
Right. It's a fine line, Jackie. I think between actually developing and running through your game plan and then doing a instinctive play calling, quick offense at the line of scrimmage. And, a lot of it's done hand signals. It's a communication that the quarterback has between receiver and quarterbacks. And offensive line just accepts the fact that, hey, my guy back there is just do it. Just do my job.
All we need is you to give us the protection. Razor, lion. That's all we need to hear. But it just seems so complicated. It just seems so complicated for a quarterback to have to go there, read the secondary, read the coverages, tell the guys the patterns to run that against this particular coverage. It just seems like a lot.
Well, and you have an abbreviated offense too. When you're in the 2-minute drill, Jackie, you just go by play numbers. Play number 1, play 2, play 3, or they just have one term to call the route. And you have to get in position and get lined up. So it's got to be quick. You got to use the clock. The great quarterbacks have the experience, and then we're talking about Mahomes,
Right.
Josh Allen, now you've got, of course, Brady, you've got
Jalen Hurts,
and you've got Jalen Hurts, and you got Aaron Rodgers. What
Yeah,
about
oh my
Aaron
goodness.
Rodgers?
Oh, don't
now?
forget
Okay,
about
the
him.
Packers, they played a great game. They played the Dolphins, probably one of their toughest games of the year, Jackie.
It looked like it was going to be a runaway early, though, Vince.
It did, but
Waddle.
you know what? But there is something to be said about a quarterback's nature, about his makeup, his ability
demeanor,
to
his
lead,
demeanor too, Vince.
and to lead the team and give them confidence.
Absolutely.
Jack. And it's just so important how he could stay out there, throw some bad passes, but when it really boiled down to the play that he had to make, he made the play.
He made the plays. And the interesting thing about it is he and Tom Brady are two of the seniors at their position in this league, and they're still two of the very best at exemplifying what great quarterbacking in its entirety really means.
Right. And, Jack, so, quarterbacks is a big part of this game, but, again, as we always spoke, it's a team effort, and you got to produce, you got to go play up front. It's a big man's game. You got to give the protection for the quarterback. Quarterback has to lead the team. And, so we see now in the playoffs, everything's getting closer to the end of the season. We're going back to this Colts game, and the Colts are playing the Chargers. Chargers have a great chance of now making the playoffs, Jackie. So when we come back, it's still 0-0. But, just mistakes back and forth, Jackie. 2 interceptions. Now that the Chargers have capitalized, and now they're going to see if they can put something together here late in the first quarter. So when we come back, we'll get you caught up on that Charger game, and we'll get talking more about throughout what's happening around the NFL. And about this projection that we see towards the playoffs. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to OnPoint Live. I'm Vince, and this is Jackie, and we want to get you caught up with this Charger Colts game. It's still just after the first quarter. Jackie and Justin Herbert just completed a big pass to Keenan Allen, so it looks like they're back on track, and we'll see how they continue with this drive. There's still no score in that game, still 0-0, but the Chargers really need to win.
They really
to keep
do.
in the playoff hunt.
They've got a whole lot more at stake here than the Colts do. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You know, Vince, we're sitting here and we've been watching this game. And you know how I feel about this. It took me a long time to admit that the position that you played was a whole lot more important than the one that I played, because of all the different things you have to do. But this is a quarterback league right now. And we've seen some good quarterbacks and consistent quarterbacks, and we've seen some guys that simply aren't getting it done. So when you look forward, who are some of the quarterbacks that you say, hey, leave them alone because they got it going on, versus the guys that you look at and say, hey, wait a minute, it's time to make a change here? Who are some of those guys?
Well, resiliency is really a big part of this game, Jackie, for any quarterback. And as we see in this game here, there's been 4 3-and-outs. So there hasn't been a lot of offensive production, but you have to stay focused. And I think the quarterbacks that can focus through good and bad and, can put everything in perspective and just be Joe Cool back there really stand out in my mind. And, there's actually more bad quarterbacks, I think, this year, Jackie, in the league than there are good quarterbacks. I mean, my good quarterbacks obviously would have to be, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. Despite their team not starting really well, Jackie, he's led his team. He's came from behind. He's staying in there. He's played, Jackie, with a broken thumb. He's playing with bruised ribs. I mean, he's not, he's taking Tylenol.
He's a tough guy.
Just go back in there and play.
You're still putting Brady in that group?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's still throwing the ball. I think there's a coaching lapse with that team right now, but he's got again, he's been most effective in the 2-minute drill when he's kind of carrying the show himself. So, I mean, let's see what happens going down the stretch. They're really got to play better defense too, Jackie, and they have to run the ball more consistently. They haven't been good doing that.
Vince, you're being gracious to all those quarterbacks.
Yeah, of the bad guys.
Who's the guy that you're going to get rid of? I got a couple of guys.
I
got a couple of guys that I'm sitting there looking at them thinking, I don't want to block for this guy. He's taking off too much. He's not reading. He's done da-da-da-da-da. I don't like that.
Well, okay. Let me start with Arizona. I think that team's in shambles right now. Kyler Murray, they lost Kyler Murray. I mean, to me, his stature is a big problem, Jackie, because when he faces, he can't see, he can move well, but you have to be able to throw from the pocket. That's where your big plays come from. Okay, Jackie, absolutely. You got guys up front. They have to block. They have to protect the guy. And there's times when you have to run, but you've got to make your plays. You got to move the pocket, and you still have to throw from either a moving pocket or somewhat of a, maybe not right in behind the line of scrimmage, but maybe off to the side. So I think he's, I think he's probably, and he's signed for a long-term contract. So they're going to have
did he ever?
See what they can do with him. You've got other quarterbacks throughout the league. Russell Wilson, what's wrong with? I don't know. We'll talk about that, but. Some of these other quarterbacks like Tua, again, he's not tall enough, Jackie. Through 3 interceptions, against the Packers, it's like, I told this to Andy Garcia, who's a big Miami Dolphin fan at the beginning, the actor, and he got real mad because he's a big Dolphin fan. And I just said, I'm just telling you what I think as a quarterback because I love Tua. I love his background. He's a toughness. He's a great guy, but to play quarterback in the NFL. You have to have some special traits, and those traits sometimes are something that you're either born with or you're not, and your makeup. So he's another one of the guys. The guy that's definitely is on his way out is, the quarterback Matt Ryan for the Colts. And
I think he's standing on the sidelines here in civilian clothes right now, right?
Well, he had a 33-point lead last week, lost the game. But
wait a minute, you can't blame him. He doesn't play defense, Vince.
Well, I mean, you know what? Run the football, do something. Don't throw incomplete balls. It stops the clock. But here you go. You see, now we're looking at this Charger game. The Chargers are on a roll. They're starting to get their offense in gear now.
A lot of different ways they're attacking.
Yeah, they really are. Well, let's see who else. Mac Jones, I'm having a problem with. The other quarterback I'm really not high on either is Derek Carr. He's had some great opportunities.
He's on his second contract.
Wow.
You think it has anything to do with all of a sudden you got it made, you made it to your second
maybe
deal,
different coaching staff?
big contract, and all of a sudden you start resting on your laurels, all of a sudden you start kicking back?
That's when you really have
You
to
think
put it
that
in gear. I think, Jackie, sometimes that could be problematic for some quarterbacks.
It's not going to hurt him. Nothing is going to
Yeah.
hurt him. Nothing but his reputation is going to be hurt. They're not going to fire him. They're not going to get rid of him.
Well, I mean, Jackie, if they have to find a solution, because when you play the Rams and you just throw the ball haphazardly and not know where you're throwing the football and it's intercepted, that field goal would have won the game for him. I mean, you can't, when you represent the team, and it's your decision making that's the most important thing. Make the right decisions to save your team. It's a team game. Everybody wins. But you have to do the right things.
Absolutely.
So those are some of my concerns and some of the players that I've seen so far. I don't know, who do you have? What you have any thoughts?
Well, I do, and as I said, I really appreciate great quarterback play like you wouldn't believe. I played with I think I played with 21 different starting quarterbacks, with you being the guy that took our football team to the Super Bowl. So I've seen a lot of different personalities to play the position, and the one central thing that I most admired by the ones that were good, including you, was that mental toughness to stay in that pocket and keep your eyes down the field when you knew that Bruce Smith or some guy was coming to take your head off. And that's just something that I always admire. Now, when I think about quarterback situation, the thing that jumps out at me right now is the situation that the Rams have. Now, I don't know what Sean McVay is planning to do with his two quarterbacks here. I know he knows he has won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, and he knows that Matthew Stafford has been rewarded nicely for the next couple of years with his contract. But Sean McVay is a young coach, and he has the unique situation to have to deal with right now, in that he has two number one overall picks at the quarterback position. Okay. One is 10 years older than the other one.
Yeah.
And it's making a ton of money. And I'm just wondering, how is Sean McVay going to deal with the play of Baker Mayfield? I cannot see this guy letting Baker Mayfield walk out of Los Angeles after what we have seen just in the last 3 weeks.
Jackie, that's that old motto about the NFL. What have you done for me lately?
What have you done for me lately?
At the NFL, not for long.
Well, so, Matthew Stafford's going to get paid either way you look at it, because they've taken care. He's been rewarded for what he brought to the table a year ago. Now, the interesting thing is, because you see that Mr. Wolford nor the other Bryce, neither one of these guys are getting any reps now. Baker Mayfield is the guy. And so, if you would, one of the things that came out this past week, the Rams said that they're all about evaluating players from this point on, Vince. You remember after we played Super Bowl 14, there were 17 guys that following year that weren't on our team.
That's right, yeah.
And I think the Rams have something like 15, 16 guys right now who will be eligible to leave this organization via contractual situation. They need a new contract, or they go somewhere else and get that.
But there's something to be said about chemistry with those players. Now, even if they think they're replaceable, Jackie, they brought some chemistry to the team that you were able to go to a Super Bowl. And I think a lot of teams make a mistake when they get rid of guys. I think three guys that come to mind: they lost Von Miller, they lost Whitworth to
Andrew
retirement,
Whitworth,
and then they lost Hecker. I mean, those were inspirational leaders of this team.
And don't forget the wide receiver.
Odell
Beckham Jr. That's four guys.
He made that one-handed grab.
Yes, that's
saved
four.
The day for him.
That's four top chef caliber ball players that I can't honestly say have been replaced. Right. I really can't.
So, I mean, so you make some great points, Jackie. And then we're talking about the Rams and, that 51-14 loss. I mean, how bad does a team have to be when you lose by that kind of score to the Rams, who were 4-10 or 4-9?
But what a treat it was for the people in Los Angeles. Did the fans in LA ever need a treat like that, huh, Vince?
Well, man,
and to have Baker Mayfield and to have another good dose of Baker Mayfield. That's why, you can say what you want about the guys playing for a new contract. He wants to go here and there. Yeah. In situations like this, I think this is a lot of thought has to be given to. You have the rights to this young man right now. He is in Europe. You have the opportunity to compare him to a guy that won the Super Bowl with a year ago.
Right.
And you clearly see what he brings to the table that Matthew Stafford doesn't. And that might be the mobility factor.
That's a good point.
That's a huge point. And so do you want to keep your wagon hitched to a guy in honor of what he has done for you? Or do you want to be innovative and come up with ways to pay a guy who might take you for the next decade? That's one of the big decisions I think the Rams are going to have to make this offseason.
Well, look at the way I look at it is this. He's 10 years younger, as you mentioned. Okay. How many more years is Matt Stafford going to play? You have a good quarterback in Baker Mayfield. And both of them are basically starting kind of quarterbacks. And in this league, if one player goes down, as we've seen throughout the league, the next guy up is really, you better have some reassurance that this guy will produce for you.
Absolutely.
And he's able to do that, Jackie, when he walks into the game. And like you said, he's mobile. He can move around. And McVay can find a system. He can put a system together for a player like that, just as he did for Matt Stafford.
Vince,
so
I sit there and I watch that game, and I'm thinking Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Baker Mayfield.
Right.
But you know what I got? I got Cam Akers.
That's right.
I got a Boucher.
Right.
I got
a high dose of run.
I got Rob Havenstein.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, Sean McVay and his run game coordinator has gone back to the table, and I saw them run plays yesterday that they have not run since Sean McVay has been there. That's that counter with the backside guard and tackle pulling and wrapping up in the hole. I saw a week ago, we saw Rob Havenstein come and kick at the line of scrimmage. This is a 6'8", 330-pound offensive tackle that they are given an opportunity to really use his athletic ability. And he is showing that he's capable of doing. He pulled down the line of scrimmage, inserted on the other side of the line of scrimmage, knocked the guy out, boom, and right down the chute, there went Akers.
We've been asking for that kind of.
We've been waiting on this kind of stuff forever.
I know. That's what you need. You have to have that ingenuity, Jackie, in the running game as well as the passing game.
Absolutely.
Okay. Without that, you've seen some of these great coaches have been able to do that. You look at Belichick. You look at what's going on with Brian Daboll in New York. That's why they're having success. You look at Nick Sirianni with this running attack.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have
up there
to
in San Francisco.
Oh my goodness!
Everybody runs the ball in San Francisco.
Well, we've just told you that's the secret of the recipe for winning football. We'll be right back. Right after this, we'll talk more about this Charger game. They lead the Colts 7-0 early in the second quarter. We'll be right back. OnPoint Live, and I'm Vince. This is Jackie, and Jackie, crazy game going on right now. But
Crazy
the
game.
Colts are not giving up. They're playing the
They're
Chargers
playing
tough
really
tonight.
hard, and it's like they're the ones with
Yeah.
the playoff opportunity on the line. These guys are getting after it, man.
Yeah, they are. And,
Snatching off helmets.
Well,
and
that's what you
everything
expect
else.
in the NFL, right, Jackie? And you have to approach every game as if it's a
Absolutely.
must-win, and you got to
Absolutely.
take them all just one game at a time. And it's
Mhm.
been an old saying that we say all the time, but that's true. But Jackie, that Ram game, we talked about the Ram game was big win at SoFi Stadium for the Rams on Christmas Day.
Yes, it was a huge
Yeah.
win, and I think for the fans, because you think about the fans, Vince, they were spoiled, with the performances that we saw a year ago, which were just they were off the charts, many of them, and then to come this season and see all of the injuries and to find out that you've got 14 different starting groups on your offensive line. That reminds me, Rob Havenstein is going to come on with us next week, and we're going to talk about that a little bit with him. He's their big right tackle. But, to see the Rams go through everything that they went through, and then to see them put on a performance like that on a special day when the people came out to support them was pretty cool. I think the fans, they understand that they lost a lot of guys to injury, and they're working their way back up.
When we were making our picks the week prior to that, we thought that Rippon would have been the quarterback, but Russell Wilson came back off injury. And Jackie,
Vince, let me ask you.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Remember that. And I remember thinking to myself, what in the world is Vince thinking that will make him think that Russell Wilson, playing the way he's playing now, would beat the Rams regardless of who the quarterback was?
Well, I mean, last
so
week,
let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question.
All right.
Is the quarterback fixable? Can we conclude that someone can take Russell Wilson and make him the guy that we've been watching for 9 years? He was a Pro Bowler.
Well, that's everybody wants. That's the magic question, Jackie, because everybody wants to know why he's played so bad this year. And I can only go back at the beginning of the season, the first game they played in Seattle, and they had a 1st and goal on the 5-yard line. They had 3 chances to score, and they were in the shotgun formation, and all they did is run a zone play. And I'm thinking to myself, and they got stuffed. And they lost that game. They could have won that game if they went in and scored. Okay, Jackie? And I'm thinking, what system has Nathaniel Hackett put in place for Russell Wilson to take this team and move forward? And I saw so many doubtful kind of plays that I'm thinking to myself, this is not Russell Wilson's type of offense.
Vince, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a point of emphasis made to the fact that they would rather, in that particular game, they would rather have Russell Wilson be equipped with a play to convert a 1st down as opposed to having some kicker who, how kickers are, come in and attempt a 50-yard field goal?
Well, Jackie, you want to put the game in the hands of your quarterback, and you want to put the game in the hands of a good quarterback like Russell Wilson, but they never were able to find that solution to that question. Why would you not give him more latitude, more ability? He is not a rookie quarterback, Jackie.
Right.
He's
Absolutely.
a veteran quarterback that's been in Super Bowls and has won Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, is he fixable? Yes, he is. And I think,
what is it going to take, though? What is it going to take? Somebody that was with him in Seattle? Is it going to take? Because the whole conversation, Vince, when he went there this summer while they were working on his contract, was that he had brought in the receivers, and they had some isolated places they were throwing and catching and communicating and getting on the same page. It was like he was a leader of getting all this stuff together, and then all of a sudden to see it fall apart like this, what is it going to take?
Well, sometimes quarterbacks, they really have a way with certain receivers, Jackie. It's just like Aaron Rodgers did with Devontae Adams. Okay, now you had Russell Wilson. He lost Lockett. He lost Metcalf. Okay, he had to come to a new team and develop that synchrony with his receivers. And it takes time. And, one off season is not going to do it. So, I think you have to put this quarterback in a position where now he's going to make plays that are designed along his strengths, and he has to use his feet. He's made a lot of great plays using his feet. That's got him where he was. And he didn't have that opportunity under that system. And all I can say is it is fixable. Next year will be a entirely different season. They've got to forget the past. They got to move forward and correct their mistakes and figure out who they're going to bring in as coach that he'll operate well with this guy. You look at the Chiefs, Andy Reid and the Patrick Mahomes, they're like buddies. They understand, they're on the same wavelength, Jackie. They have to be on the same wavelength as your coach. Belichick for many years with Tom Brady, he was just able to execute his plays perfectly, you know.
Now, Vince, there's another theory out there that I have to ask you about because I know it's your area of expertise. Do you think it's possible, very possible at all, or possible at all, that the head coach up at Seattle saw Russell Wilson's soon deterioration, that he probably looked at him and concluded that Russ is another year on the top of his game, another 2 years on top of his game. Let's get what we can for him while his value is high, because look at the picks now they're going to have. They're going to have a really high pick. Yeah. You know, get a top tier guy with the pick that's coming this year alone, just the one of the picks. Do you think maybe he was looking at that, Pete Carroll, and thinking, hey, it's time to move on from this guy?
You know, Pete Carroll went with Geno Smith, and he stayed with Geno Smith. And, you know, for most of the year, he's done a pretty good job at quarterback. I don't know if he's their long-term future and their answer moving forward. But with these picks that you mentioned, Jackie, they could go after somebody really big in the draft, a young quarterback maybe, and develop. And now maybe their system, you know, they impressed me more this year, Seattle did, because of what they were able to do with losing great players like that. The Rams lost a few players, and the Rams were dismal. The Seattle rebounded. They were much better than the Rams for most of the season. So, I mean, it says something about the coaching staff and about maybe they did see some kind of rustiness that Russell Wilson had, or something that wasn't going to improve. And Russell really wasn't content there anymore, Jackie. He had done what he could do, and he was looking for another, at the light at the end of the tunnel. He was looking for someplace else to go where he can shine.
Vince, it's been trendy. It's gotten trendy now to go out and get that missing piece, primarily at quarterback, and give yourself an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. We saw Tom Brady do it over there at Tampa. And then we've just seen Matthew Stafford do it here. Do you think that's something that we're going to continue to watch happen with some of these quarterbacks?
Well, you know, I think you can, Jackie. It's the fit. It's how the quarterback's going to fit into the system and with the coaching staff. And, you know, we saw Jared Goff go to Detroit. People had their questions last year, but this year he's rebounded.
In the early part of this year, he was struggling.
Yeah, he was struggling, but, you know, they were still in contention. They were in every game. They weren't getting blown out. They were just losing by a field goal, or, you know, then they came on and they started playing better defense, and that's what it takes. And they start running the ball better. So, I mean, you see that, yes. And, you know, but that's the way the NFL is, Jackie. So, you know, but, you know, as we go through the league and we see game to game, Jackie, you had the opportunity last week to go to Allegiant Stadium, and watch your son play, the Raiders. And, you know, it didn't turn out the best thing for the Patriots. What that crazy ending in that game, what were you thinking when you saw that play?
I could not believe my eyes. It was
especially a Belichick.
There was less than 9 seconds on the clock. Yes, less than 9 seconds on the clock. They gave it to Ramon, the running back. Yeah. He breaks up in there for 10 or 12 yards. He has to feel like, okay, the clock is expired. Let me go down. Let's go to overtime. Beat these guys in overtime. He tosses the ball back. Guy catches it, makes a move or two, and he tosses it back to his quarterback, which is intercepted by Jones.
Yes.
Stiff arms the quarterback. I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm going,
craziest finish.
I can't believe what I just saw.
Have you ever seen anything? What was one of the craziest finishes throughout your career that you saw?
I'd have to say the craziest finish was in New York in 1989. We played the Giants up there, and Flipper Anderson the bad thing about it was I jumped off sides. But I really didn't jump outside. We looked at it, the head coach and I, once we got back, and I was the only guy that was moving. That was the problem. Everybody else was sitting there.
Did they call it?
Yeah, they got me a
Oh,
penalty, and John Madden, the late great John Madden, was doing the broadcast,
Yeah.
and he just ripped into me because John Robinson and John Madden, our head, they were really good friends.
Yeah,
so
that's
he
right.
was.
That's
I
right.
think
They
he was
were,
pulling. He was pulling for John.
That's right.
So that happened, and then just a little bit later, Flipper Anderson was hit on that deep pass by Jim Everett, and then he didn't even come back to shake anyone's hand.
Went
He
right in
just
the tunnel.
went straight in the tunnel and straight into the locker room. And I
Yeah,
said,
what a
okay, I
finish.
guess that's the way we're going to do this.
But that was a great finish.
That was a great finish.
You know, one of the finishes that I saw, Jackie, was the Giants. Again, the New York Giants were playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were playing in Philadelphia. And Pizarchek was the quarterback.
I know
and they had this. All he had to do was take a knee, and game was over. Instead, he turned around, reverse pivot. He tried to hand the ball off. He fumbled the ball, and my ex-roommate at Cal, Herman Edwards. Many people don't remember that, but you know, he was one of my teammates. Picked up the fumble and ran about 50 yards for the score. I mean, that's still just vivid in my mind.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? Some great finishes. Boy. Anyway, well, we have a lot more experiences to talk about, Jackie, I'm sure, you know, with these kind of things. And the league's been going on for so many great years and so many great players. We'll talk more about it soon. But stay with us on the next when we come right back on Point. Welcome back to OnPoint Live, and we're here watching the Monday Night Football game between the Colts and the Chargers. The Chargers are at home, Jackie. They have a 7-3 lead, and as we have a commercial break here, and we wait for the teams to come back live. A lot of talk around the league's been who's going to be the MVP. Who do you like? It's usually the quarterback, obviously, right?
Usually the quarterback.
Who do you have any favorites in mind?
A year ago, we had a couple of running backs.
Yeah,
up there
they did. Yeah,
that
Jonathan, yeah,
kid over the coast. But this year, I think it's going to come down to late season heroics. Obviously, all the front runners are there.
Oh, look at this trick play, Jackie!
My goodness, a throwback!
Oh, he got it!
They're going to score!
Come on! Come on, Keenan!
Come
on, Keenan!
Oh, how about that?
How about that? Third and 1, Jackie, midfield. Okay, now
and
that's
Keenan
what I like to see.
Now,
I like to see trick plays.
The mere fact that he kept his balance and didn't go out of bounds on that play, it is unbelievable.
Well, watch it,
body control.
They're at trips. They're at trips right.
Trill
right, and they're going to toss right.
Yeah. Toss right. They pull the tackle and everything. Throwback.
A throwback to the quarterback, and it's like a flea flicker.
He
throws Keenan Allen on a deep cross diagonal.
In the Rams' biggest comeback in the history of the Rams, against Kansas City,
look at that pass.
We ran this play.
Look at that pass, Jackie. There's only one place to put it.
Exact same play.
And look at him tiptoe down the sideline. Did he go out of bounds?
No, he didn't.
I don't think so.
No, he didn't. Unbelievable,
Jackie.
play.
With 2 minutes left to go in the half, that's a big play. And the Chargers will get the ball the second half.
You got to give it to Joe Lombardi, man.
That was a nice play.
That was a fantastic.
That was a nice play.
That was really, really nice.
Okay, what's going on, Jackie? It looks like they got a first down. I think he did step out of bounds.
Oh, he did?
I mean, they didn't give him the touchdown.
So. They didn't. I see.
So, Jackie, we were talking about the MVPs.
Like I said, I think it's going to come down to some late season heroics, but you always have the front runners. You got Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
You got
you like Aaron Rodgers too?
You got Vince. Who knows what kind of position? This guy's a two-time league MVP, and he's at the helm of the team that has a legitimate shot to get into the playoffs.
But it didn't start out that way this year, Jackie. But I give him a lot of credit for playing hurt. Jackie, bruised ribs, broken hand, staying with his team, and now he's got a shot. Now he's got a chance to make the playoffs, Jackie, and a good chance to make the playoffs.
So
I think he's got to be in the running myself.
And then you got Patrick Mahomes,
sure,
who's always sitting there at the end and putting up some great numbers and leading his team to a lot of success. You have Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen has acquitted himself nicely, and depending on how much farther they go, that could have a lot to do with there's 2 or 3 other guys, man, that just all playing at that good level. Josh Allen over at Buffalo. Don't forget him. He's running over people, throwing the ball all over the place. So those are the top ones that come to mind. But one of the things I've noticed with this MVP award, it comes, we're going to hit a stretch here over this next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to hit a stretch over this next 2 weeks and early in the playoffs where it's going to become clear that quarterback and that team with that quarterback's energy is what's to be beat at this particular time through the playoffs. So that's going to have something to do with it.
I agree with you. I think it'll become more defined as we get into the playoffs because the MVP award won't be announced till right prior to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And, all those players you mentioned. But you know what? My estimation, my assumption is this, Jackie, is that when I watched games this year, I've been most impressed and most excited to see guys like Josh Allen play. The Bills have always been an impressive game. They've always been fun to watch. Kansas City's been fun to watch. Those quarterbacks have a lot to do with it. Here you see Keenan Allen, and pound for pound, that kid is the toughest kid that plays football. I think Austin Eckler.
Yes.
And they just did a little draw play with him out of the shotgun formation off to the weak side, Jackie. And they got the first down, again, short third down and 2 yards. They made a nice play. Now they're playing their offensive line, Jackie. What's your assumption? Are they playing better?
They've got Big Pipkins, the right tackle is back. They got center. They got their center back, and they're still playing with a rookie right guard and a rookie left tackle. And I haven't seen any breakdowns. I haven't seen any technical flaws that concern me with any of these guys. So I felt all along going into the season that Justin Herbert was going to lead a lot more support out of his offensive line, and I've seen him get that to this point. That was a key element because they struggled last year and early parts of this season.
This is an important drive, Jackie. They got first and goal on the 10-yard line with a minute left to go in the first half. Here they're trying to run the football again. Austin Eckler, tackled, thrown for loss. So, but what you talk about quarterbacks have to deliver late in games in the last 2-minute drills. And you've seen the great ones always do it.
Always
and this
do
is
it.
a great test for Justin Herbert. This is where I think he has the ability to be exceptional again, but you got to put it in his hands. You got to give him a little bit of variation, especially down by the goal line, Jackie.
Mhm.
And a lot of these teams, you know, they have a hard time sometimes scoring within the 10-yard line because the field is condensed down there.
Vince,
What you
it,
see
it
is
appears to me that Brandon Staley and Joe Lombardi are putting the balls in Justin Herbert's hands.
they have to.
They are putting the ball in his hands. Their
Yeah.
success is going to hinge on him and his arm and his
Yeah.
decision.
His last 2 drives, Jackie, is 11 for 11 in the passing game. So
that's what I'm saying, right?
You
there.
know, here he is.
Young guy.
Now
too.
he's rolling
Still
out.
a young guy.
He feels the pressure.
You know,
and
Vince,
see, in a situation like that, Jackie, be very careful.
You got to be very careful
because you just don't want to throw the ball intended for a receiver when it has
we're
a chance
sitting
to be
here bragging
intercepted.
on him, and I was thinking that's an interception.
Just throw it away. Come back, and you got to play third down.
One of the things that I have a tendency to look at when I started looking at these quarterbacks down the stretch is, who is the guy that's doing the most with the less? He's doing the most with the less amount of talent. I look at that. But then I don't give that guy the edge over the guy who has great talent and is taking advantage of it, you know?
Right.
So the guy that's doing the most with the less, you want to look at, and the guy that's loaded, who's making sure that he takes advantage of this unique opportunity of being loaded. Right. Those are the guys that I think you should consider.
And what I look at is when I have a great talented quarterback and I have great talent around him, now it's even more impressive to have a great coach to work with this and put this in motion to really be productive. And I've seen Andy Reid do that consistently. Kyle Shanahan can do that.
Yes.
Okay. This year, the Chargers really have to step up. Joe Lombardi really has to come forward now, and it's really got to be the coach that's going to really put these guys in position to win, Jack.
And hopefully Brandon Staley will remain as consistent as he's been. He handles pretty much situational decisions from the sidelines as well as anybody. Yeah. The only thing that's been a little bit questionable early parts of this year and certainly last year, the fourth down. You know, some of the decisions he made to go for it on fourth down, it built the trust in his football team. It really galvanized them to know that the coach, you know, didn't want to give the ball back to the opponent because he trusted his offense to be able to get those points. Right. But it hurt him a lot when it didn't happen. Yeah. So, you know, that's one of those situations.
See, Jackie, as we look at the AFC playoff picture, you know, the Chargers are 8-6. The Dolphins are right behind them at 8-7. If they win tonight, the Chargers, they'll be a 2-game lead, over the Dolphins. And that almost might assure them a spot in the playoffs. But here, you know, I was impressed. Justin Herbert didn't throw the ball crazy. And he threw the ball to Austin Eckler, didn't pick up the touchdown, but they're here to attempt the field goal, and they make it. So now they go up by 7.
Go up by 7.
Okay, they'll get the ball back in the second half because they'll get they deferred the coin flip. So, you know, here's a chance for them coming back in the second half when they come back.
They truly do control their own destiny.
They do.
Truly do.
You know, Jackie, as we head into halftime, we have to talk about a great loss that we've had this past week. And one of the guys that we played against was one of the greatest guys that I ever got to know was Franco Harris.
Yes.
You know, and he meant so much to that whole Pittsburgh aura and just add greatness to that team.
Oh, he did.
And, you know, we played against him. And so, I mean, any great Franco Harris memories that
I do have some great memories. I got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2001. And when I go back there, you know, when you first go back there, you say, do you belong? You know, you look around, and then sometimes you think, well, I worked hard as anybody, so maybe I do. Yeah. And then you meet a guy like Franco, and you get a chance to talk to him, and he talks about you all the time. You know, he remembers you in that Super Bowl 14. But this guy didn't seem to have any ego at all. No. I sent a text message to me and Joe Green this week. And I was offering my condolences to the loss of his dear friend, because I think they played together for 10 years. Yeah. And Joe Green called me back on the phone, and he said, Jackie, he said, man, we lost a good human being. Yeah. He said, God said that he's done all that he can do. Mm-hmm. He said, that guy has stood and signed autographs until the people left. And he
I
said,
know.
Jackie, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't. He said, I couldn't do it. I got irritated. He said, but he never saw Franco get irritated. He would stand there until the last kid or person left who wanted his autograph. And that's the kind of person I found him to be with my interactions. He was never, I didn't sense there's a lot of egos walking around in Canton.
I'm sure, man.
There's a lot of egos.
Hall of Famers, man.
There's a lot of egos walking around in Canton, Ohio during Hall of Fame week. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
But Franco Harris, if he had one, I never saw it.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the thing that I remember too, Jackie, this was the anniversary of the 50th, the Immaculate Reception,
right?
And they were going to retire number 32. And you know what was impressive is Tomlin, the coach, wore number 32 jersey during that game. You know how much of an impact that had on his team to go out. Yeah. Pittsburgh won that game, Jackie, and they go out and they play from the heart, and that's the way you have to play football. And I remember that Immaculate Reception, seeing it. Bradshaw, the deflected ball coming up. I showed it to my grandson, and he jumped out of his seat looking out. Hey, no, man, that was a great play. Look at that.
Yeah.
And he went all the way for a touchdown. I said, yeah, he was one of the great ones, Javi Chenzo. And so,
really,
you know, it was great to see him do that. Hey, you know, this last week we had Christmas, Jackie, and you gotta tell the viewers there, what was one of your greatest Christmas gifts that you ever got?
Man,
that you ever received?
I've been so very fortunate, been so very blessed, and have had tremendous amount of love poured out on me over my life. But one thing that jumps out at me, here I am, at my age, and I can still remember being like in the 4th grade, and all I wanted for Christmas was a bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember waking up and seeing that great big old red Swin bicycle with those big tires on it about that big around. I remember seeing that bike sitting there underneath the tree, and I asked, who was that for? And they said, it's yours.
It's yours, man.
I still remember that. And it was really what the joy that a kid experiences when he's young. I've had that in my heart and in my life ever since I was, in the 4th grade.
Yeah, you and Annie have always been philanthropic and always given to kids less fortunate, and really credit you for all that, Jackie. But yeah, that's something that's really stays in your mind. I remember playing ball, and we were teammates together, and for Christmas we played a Washington Redskins, and we had a gift that Georgia gave us all. It was a Cabbage Patch doll for our wives, And you know what Eddie DeBartolo gave the wives of his team?
What?
A Louis Vuitton purse.
Oh my goodness!
Come on, man.
I didn't know that, but this is what I remember. I thought, that particular year, the Cabbage Patch doll was very
popular.
It was very popular. You could not go.
No,
you cannot go into Toys R Us and buy the Cabbage Patch doll. You couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, here we are, the night before the game, and we go in and they have the big presentation at the dinner, and they give all of us a Cabbage Patch doll. And I was so happy that I had the Cabbage Patch doll, right? Mine happened to have been
but I think Annie would have preferred a Louis Vuitton purse.
Yeah, I no doubt about that. But mine happened to have been, chocolate, shaded chocolate. But the problem was the next day, the Washington football team put 51 points up on us, and we come walking out of the locker room with Cabbage Patch doll.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. You guys deserve it, man.
It was like we were crying on our way back to LA with a Cabbage Patch doll.
Well, we have a lot of great stories. We hope everyone's Christmas was great and great memory with your families. And we all encourage you to watch us again next week on our OnPoint Live. And Jackie, you got a message to send to our
definitely.
viewers?
And I say this every week. We like I tell you all, Vince and I are having a fantastic time doing this. It's so much fun. We enjoy each other's company. We enjoy sharing our history and our knowledge with people. So what we'd like for you to do is, sign up and, offer us up some suggestions, some topics of conversation. Give us your opinion. We like to hear what our fans have to say about this great game that we love. And we know that there are a lot of football fans out there that have some really deep opinions about things that are going on, both with the Rams and the league, the game of football around the country. So we welcome the opportunity for you to be subscribers and to reach out to us with questions. Give us a thumbs up of encouragement on occasion, and we would definitely appreciate it.
Don't miss it. We'll see you in the next edition of OnPoint Live.
We got a live viewer. We got to send hi to Chip.
Chip?
Chip is watching you live.
Chip. Well, can we hear Chip?
No. He's watching live. Just send him a big
Chip, thanks for watching, Chip.
Thanks.
Keep watching us and send us a comment. Next time we'll answer your question.
Thanks a lot, Chip.
All right.
Merry Christmas to you.
Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next week.